Very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Shirley, and I am the Client Experience Manager for BukiHQ Media. We represent the largest global song contest, Djooky Music Awards on the African continent. On behalf of Djooky, we are very pleased to have you here with us. As most of you already know, Djooky is a global streaming platform working with emerging artists all over the world. So you have tons of great music from upcoming artists, songwriters, producers on a singular platform like you would never have had before. By now, Djooky is known for hosting the first ever truly global online song contest with artists from over 135 countries taking part. Djooky's ambition is to attract talent from all 193 member states of the UN. So if you are still not registered, please make sure you do so after this event. Just go to www.djookyawards.com for more details and sign up. Whether you're an emerging artist or a music lover, there's something on the site for you. Under the Djooky brand, many exciting developments are taking place. One of the projects we have been working on is Djooky Talks, which is a series of online events aimed at aspiring emerging artists and songwriters. Djooky strives to network and bring the world's best industry experts to inspire and share insider tips and advice on how to build a successful career in music. Today is the inaugural Djooky Talks event in Africa, and we are very excited to introduce our two speakers, Malouf and Bukola Sawyerr-Izeogu. Let's talk about Brian. Brian is a multi-platinum LA-based producer, mixer, and engineer who has worked with the likes of Madonna, Queen, Michael Jackson, Mariah Carey, and many other music megastars. He has also served as an executive at several major record labels over the years. His work has amassed a total of 53 gold, platinum, and double platinum records to date. Brian is indeed a superstar. Today, Brian will be chatting with our very own Bukola Sawyerr-Izeogu based here in Lagos. Buki is the founder and CEO of BukiHQ Media, one of Africa's leading PR firms, notorious for its work in entertainment and lifestyle industries. Her client's portfolio includes Nigeria's first Grammy Award-winning artist, Burna Boy, UK top supermodel Naomi Campbell, to mention but a few. Buki has been described as a music connoisseur, having programmed 4 distinct radio stations, produced and presented her own radio show for 9 years. I should know I was a fan. Buki has served on the board of a record label and has been on the board of a music festival, worked on and consulted for several music concerts and events, placing herself and BukiHQ Media at the heart of Africa's entertainment revolution. A warm welcome, Buki and Brian. Thank you for both agreeing to be a part of Djooky Talks.
Thank you so much, Shirley.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you very much.
Hi, Brian. How are you doing?
Hi, Buki. Very well. How are you?
Not bad at all.
So I'll just make a few announcements, and then Brian and Buki can set the conversation going. During the event, the chat will be open for questions from the audience. Please send your questions over, and we will address them in the second part of this session. So, Buki, Brian, without further ado, let's start with the first question. What is the base recipe for success for a modern day artist?
Okay, Brian, you were going to say something. You were going to ask me something just now.
Okay, then I'll remember what that question was, because I think we can both help to answer that question. But I just wanted to start out by saying to everyone who's on this webinar, Buki and I only know each other because our networks collided. And because that is such an important part of success, you know, which is the first question, is networking. I just want to stress how important it is that you all communicate as much as you can with people that are in this industry, that you might be doing a project with, or doing a writing session with, or happen to be at a show, and the person next to you and yourself are both obviously music fans, you strike up a conversation. Was that a glass of wine, Buki? It is late there. I saw you move it just off, just out of the side of your camera, but now I know it's there. So it's early in the morning for me. So, but that's in my future as well, I hope. But anyway, so I was doing a mixing session for actually a producer manager in London, and he and I got to talking, and I'm one of the early members. I guess you'd call me a founding member of Djooky, the Djooky platform. And I asked him, I said, we're getting so much activity in Africa. Who can I enlist? Who can you introduce me to that could be serving on our judging panel? And this is how Buki and I know each other. And we're obviously on two different continents during the era of COVID, have not met face to face. So it's really great to meet you, Buki, on this platform. And that networking thing, thanks to Rodney, you have been such a wonderful partner with us and ambassador for Djooky, and it's really a privilege for me to meet you here and know you outside of this webinar. So thanks so much for coming. And what do you want to take on Shirley's question first? Because I think my answer is simple. The surest way to success from my point of view is to write a great song that's relatable and that sets a path for all of the other efforts to follow. And I think those efforts really start with, promoting and marketing the song to people outside your friends and family circle. And Buki is a specialist at that. So.
Thank you so much, Brian. It is really nice to meet you. I mean, we've exchanged emails. I had to do quite a bit of research about you, and to find out and discover that you are the producer responsible for a lot of the music that I love over the years was such a great honor. I remember sending you a newsletter. I remember sending out a newsletter to everybody on my contacts, and you responded saying thank you so much, and we were not even aware that these were some of the things that we were doing. I mean, it is so amazing to know that we are just an email away, a phone call away, and if it wasn't for COVID, I don't think we would have been able to create such a bond. So I would say that to a large extent, I'm grateful for a pandemic, but most importantly, grateful for the technology that has given us the opportunity to get to meet each other this way. I mean,
Absolutely.
We are, and I am representing a small boutique PR company in Africa that has a focus on ensuring that African voices in the music scene and the entertainment scene at large is felt and heard around the world, because I believe strongly that the world has not seen 1% of what the African media space, the African entertainment space has to offer. And Shirley's initial question ties in directly with that. For me, one of the most important things to great success for any artist, any musician, any entertainer, be it from the music scene or the movie scene or even books and plays, is authenticity. Where Africa is concerned, authenticity is most important. And it's difficult. It is really difficult for Africans to remain authentic, because the Western world has created a platform for success. And our artists believe to be able to get that kind of success or replicate that success, they have to be like the artists in the Western world. But authenticity from our own point of view, right, makes us stand out. And yes, you can write the best songs in the world, but if you're writing the songs to sound like Michael Jackson, or you're writing the songs to sound like Mariah Carey, it is going to be very difficult for the Western world to not compare you to those artists whose culture is already embedded in their society. But when you have an artist like we have, when you have an artist like the artists we have in Africa, writing songs and performing in a way that is authentic to us, with the marketing background and platform and accessibility that the artists in the Western world have, then you find out that their authenticity and what they are bringing to the table is appreciated and seen around the world. So that is my first answer to that question.
That's a terrific answer, and this word authenticity is resonant and resonates all over the world, and it's the most important thing. And you know, I love hearing the stories from all over the world. You know, from the smallest little village in Ghana to, you know, Lima, Peru, where they have no infrastructure for a music industry. You know, to people here in the United States, Los Angeles, London. The stories are important, and to give people a chance to tell their stories authentically in the language that they speak or in the music that they've grown up with is the most important thing for me within Djooky and for the company in general. So I love that answer. And once it's authentic and people recognize it when it isn't, you know, people know when you're faking it. I truly believe that. Yeah, that's what I mean by you've created in the work, in the music, you've created a beacon that from which everything else can follow. It's how the fans will follow you, it's how the industry will follow you, and it's how the word is spread. So I love that answer. I love this idea that you've got to be true to who you are and not reach for something you think is what other people want. You got to tell them what you like, and then you will find out if you're speaking for more than just yourself.
Let me also use this opportunity to say a big well done to Djooky for daring to do this and leveling the playing field. There's nothing better than getting to listen to music from different parts of the world and reducing the distance between all of us. I mean, I'm sitting in my living room and I'm listening to music from Peru, I'm listening to music from Brazil, I'm listening to music from Russia, and this is music that hasn't broken out. You know what I mean? It's new music. It's young artists who are thriving in different parts of the world just to have their voices heard. And you guys have created a platform to allow these artists have their voices heard. I mean, it's brilliant. It's really good. Shirley, what's our next question?
Oh.
Thank you so much. Listening to you both talk is very enlightening. So someone is asking, they want to know, what do you think is the biggest challenge for emerging artists, especially in places like Africa? What's the biggest challenge they're going to face?
For me, I would say, first of all, lack of understanding. Second, lack of appreciation. And third, lack of infrastructure. The understanding is the music industry in Africa, and I will concentrate on Nigeria, hasn't been taken very seriously. It hasn't been taken seriously because the industry doesn't realize what they have. They haven't realized the enormous potential there is where music is concerned. They're starting to realize, they're starting to see that the numbers that we have in Nigeria and in Africa as a whole haven't realized how important that is. And based on that, the musicians haven't had the infrastructure
So it looks like you were having a little trouble buffering there. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So the artists haven't had the infrastructure to help them out. And I believe that that is the biggest challenge. With the world that we're in right now, which relies heavily on the internet, the fact that you have 200 million Nigerians and less than 50% of those Nigerians have access to the internet is a huge problem. I would like to see a situation whereby the high costs of the internet and data are addressed and made affordable for everybody. And immediately that is done, you would see streaming numbers immediately increase for these artists. I believe those are the challenges that Nigeria and Africa as a whole are facing right now.
Did you say there are 200 million citizens of Nigeria?
200 million Black people in Nigeria, 200 million. Can you imagine, the enormous potential of streaming numbers coming out of just one of the 54 countries in Africa? That is Nigeria, which has the largest number of Black people. If only you had better internet access and cheaper internet access, Nigerians would not even need global recognition. Those numbers would be so high that Black musicians outside of Africa would be looking to get into Africa just to get a slice of those numbers. Just a slice.
Absolutely. My goodness.
Ryan?
Yes.
So it's interesting that the challenges we face in Africa matched with the numbers, there's so much potential. And if only we can get it right, or the sooner we can get it right, the better it will be for all of our artists across the continent. Would you say that the challenges faced in Africa are similar to emerging artists in, say, the US or Latin America or the UK and Europe?
Actually, I think it's a little different, maybe a lot different. I think that the difficulty in those Western countries that you mentioned is the trying to kind of break out of the clutter of new releases. And when you consider that every Friday, the streaming services that we have, which are basically Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, SoundCloud, and there are a few more, are uploading to their systems around 45,000, and it varies from week to week, plus or minus 5 or 10,000, but averaging about 45,000 new releases per week, each and every week. You have to ask yourself, well, how many of those do I know about as either a casual music fan or even a rabid music fan? How do I hear about the ones? How did I hear about the ones that I'm aware of? And I think that's exceptionally challenging for even major record labels, much less the gifted songwriter toiling away at their studio, like this one at home. So I think it's really kind of breaking through the sheer volume of new music available to people that's the challenge here. And in our small way at Djooky, we're trying to provide people with a more cloistered and less daunting a number of new releases we have them every day, to kind of browse through and find some things that you like.
So you said 45,000 new releases every Friday.
Yeah.
On Apple Music, Spotify, Deezer, Boomplay, AudioMac, and all of the rest of them. This is inclusive of music from Africa, of course, right?
Of course, worldwide.
So how do you filter through all of that music? What do you do to be able to stand out? I think at the end of the day, that's the question that is always asked. What do you, as an artist, and it doesn't matter if you are a new artist or an existing artist, you are faced with the same numbers. It doesn't matter if you are a Justin Bieber or an Ariana Grande or a Giveon or Daniel Caesar, you still have to find a way to break out of that herd of 45,000 releases on Friday? What do you think an artist needs to do? Because it can't just be about songwriting. It has to be about something else.
Right, and that's where musicians, you know, in this economy, this musical economy, have to be entrepreneurial. They have to figure out a marketing hook, not just the hook that catches your ear musically, but the marketing hook. Some people find that marketing hook with a very clever video, and a video that goes viral on a platform like TikTok, for instance, can get you some notoriety very almost overnight. But before there was TikTok, there are also boutique outlets. Like in the United States, there's a YouTube channel called Elevator, and it's a hip hop R&B specialized platform. And a lot of young hip hop artists kind of emerge from that platform because they've put up a video that people are paying attention to that channel. So they see the videos, the new release videos, and they take 30 seconds to watch one when they're relaxing. And then word of mouth starts with the comments and the likes. And every genre has that type of starter channel, or starter platform, or starter internet radio station, some way that you can start with a concentrated fan base that's going to be predisposed to like the music that you're making by genre, and then the word can hopefully spread that way. I mean, this is a time where social media presence and attention to your social media followers and friends, again, starting with your friends and family, expanding outward. It's the kind of law of music marketing that even major labels have always experienced. It's just so much bigger now because of the internet, frankly. And it doesn't require a label to work that system. That's both the beauty and the difficulty. So for musicians who are not naturally drawn to this idea of marketing their own music, they have to attract somebody from their circle or just outside their circle, again, this networking idea, who is into feeding the beast, feeding the internet beast with social media outreach and engagement on your behalf. And it really is, without a major label radio, terrestrial or satellite radio push, it's very much organic, word of mouth, old-fashioned marketing outreach that's going to do it, along with a great song, obviously. Everything follows the music.
So I constantly say to musicians that they should stop looking at putting out music like a labor of love, right? They need to start thinking a little bit more strategically and looking at their music as a product. You know what I mean? If you were a startup company and you were selling tires for a car, for instance, you are not just going to put out the tire that you have created, that you've spent money creating. You're not just going to put the tire out and cross your fingers and hope and pray that people would pity you and buy those tires. You have to give them a reason to want to buy the tires. You're going to market, you're going to advertise, you're going to build PR around it. You are going to find a unique selling point for that, for those tires. You are going to talk about confidence. You're going to talk about reliability. You are going to give people a reason to want to pick your tires over everybody else's tires, and that they're going to start to need to treat their music like it's a product, as opposed to just thinking that because they put out good music, what they presume is good music, that everybody is going to be able to find the music and listen to the music. They have to be a little bit more strategic in everything that they do and put together a team. And of course it is expensive. It is extremely expensive. Just like if you're starting a tire company, you're going to need to have investors. You're going to need to have, like I said, a marketing team, an advertising team, a business development team, a legal team. You're going to need to put all of these people together. Gone are the days when musicians are just able to create good music and there's not a lot of music out there. And so people are thirsty for the music and they would find your music. There is so much music out there. And because of the digital space, because of Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, and all of these other DSPs, it is so easy to submit music. And so there's so much music out there. And not everybody has time to filter through all of the music to find yours. So you're going to need to find a way to make your music stand out. I get all of these messages all the time. I get DMs, I get WhatsApp messages, I get messages from people all over the globe asking me to help them put their music out. The question is very simple. Why? Why should I help you put your music out? What is it about your music that stands out? Why should I listen to your music over all of the music that I have to listen to? Give me one reason. And unfortunately, they're never able to answer those questions. I mean, even right here, a lot of the questions that are coming in are around that. I have this one from Anna. She says, "Hi, I'm from Peru. I would like to know some advice for artists who don't have the opportunity because of the pandemic and other resources. Thank you very much." Where do we start from? Once again, Anna, if you were selling tires, are you going to send this same message to people that have cars? Are you going to ask them to give you an opportunity to sell your tires? Or are you going to find ways to sell your tires? So it is the same thing, it's the same approach with music. And unfortunately, it's hard, it's really, really tough. I mean, you can get Brian to produce your music. He's done his work, he's moved on. What are you going to do next? How are you going to let people know that Brian has produced your music? How are you going to know that this amazing record producer who has done so much work for so many different musicians has produced your music? How are you going to get people to listen to the music? These are the questions that you need to ask yourself. And like Brian had said earlier on, artists need to start thinking like business owners and stop thinking just like talents. They have to go many, many steps ahead. And unfortunately, because music had been a way to escape the hard work that is required in businesses, they haven't learned what they need to do to be able to sell their brand, sell the music, that is the content, and sell their brand themselves as artists. Because there's some artists out there, it doesn't matter what they put out, people are going to look for them and buy their music because they've created a brand and they've built the confidence in that brand that will sell their music without any marketing.
And the brand has a lot to do with the genre. I've had over my years, you know, so many songwriters come to me with 8 songs that they want to make an album out of. And one sounds like a country song, and one sounds like a hip hop song, and one sounds like a pop record, and one sounds like a jazz. And, you know, I say, wait a second, you know, you have to, and I'll go with your other product example. If you're looking for Cheerios, you're going to go to the cereal aisle of the supermarket, right? You're not going to find the Cheerios in the deli at the deli counter. So when you're putting together your artist project, you have to separate the, I'm not saying don't let inspiration come to you and write something for a genre that you don't want to necessarily be a part of, but don't think you can turn it into your own song. Set that aside for when you do a publishing deal and you're going to pitch songs to other artists, and carve out the songs that you write that fit the artist that you want to be, that go with a genre, so that people who are looking for your genre of music can more easily find you.
That is so true.
Mm-hmm.
And then the DSPs themselves are very particular about genres of music. So for instance, I'm listening to Spotify, I'm listening to a playlist called R&B, and I must tell you that's an amazing playlist. It's R&B, but it's spelled A-R-E and B-E. You know, ampersand B-E. So it's a nice play on. It's a nice play on the words. If you are an R&B musician and you have submitted your music and you haven't specified the genre in which your music is, how are the playlists going to pick your music? How are they going to let the people that are looking for R&B music, and in the case of your example, Cheerios, how are they going to know that that's where your music is to find it? So there's so many deliberate steps to take to ensure that your music is seen and heard, that a lot of people are not doing.
Right, and it's not to say you have to stay in the same box you place yourself in to start.
Exactly.
You can get an audience and let the audience grow with you, but you have to start very specifically, one genre or another.
If I could pick a very simple example, I remember in the 90s, when was it in the 90s or in the early noughties? I think it was the early noughties when Pink came out. Pink came out as an R&B musician. I mean, it was further down the line that we realized that she's gearing more towards pop and rock. Right. You know, the same thing happened with what's her name? The one that did Whenever, Wherever. My hips don't lie. Shakira. The same thing happened with Shakira. I mean, she came out and we didn't realize that she was going to go in the direction of rock music. There's so many musicians that do that. They find a community, and Brian, you talked about building a community. They find a community, they pull this entire community behind them to gain that recognition. And before you know what's happening, they're branching out. There's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. But like you said, you need to be deliberate. You need to be specific in the beginning so that you're able to pull certain people in.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have blown my mind, and you guys are mind readers, as it were. You're answering some of the questions even before we have had the opportunity to ask them. Because I have a question from Michael, who says, on Brian's last point, is musical success more a function of business or marketing or artistic talent? But I believe you guys have addressed that. Beyond.
No, but I would state, I want to bring it back again. It's a combination of both. It has to be both, because you can have an artist that is brilliant and is sitting down in his corner and saying to himself, I am a brilliant artist, I put out an amazing song, I've gotten the right producers, but nobody knows that the song is there. And then you have another artist who is not brilliant in songwriting, but has an amazing marketing team behind them. And before you know what's happening, because the music is on repeat, people have no choice but to like the music. I mean, Brian, we can give so many examples. I remember when MTV was one of the only sources for finding good music. And you would have a musician whose song is absolutely rubbish. And because the song is on high rotation, before you know what's happening, you're singing the song in your sleep and you're looking forward to hearing the song. And that's just based on repetition. And that's where the marketing and PR and publicity efforts come into play. So, Michael, I would say it is a combination of both of them.
Great. Buki, we have a question for you from Akorde. It says, your suggestions are great, but building a niche online in Nigeria can be daunting. A large percentage of musicians in Nigeria, music consumers in Nigeria, still get their songs from music blogs. So what do we do about that number of the populace? How do we target them?
From the beginning of this conversation, I said that infrastructure is one of the biggest problems that we have in Nigeria. Now, because data is so expensive and having access to the internet is either non-existent or extremely expensive, you find out that a lot of musicians, a lot of consumers would rather just download the music and play it over and over again so that they're not using up their data. So in that instance, you find out that the way that the musicians make money today, it won't be affected, because once the song is downloaded, right, there are no streaming numbers attached to the downloaded music, and you find out that the bigger artists don't make their music available for download because then they're not able to track any of the insights or get any of the streaming numbers, etc., etc. It is a problem, and a lot of people are constantly racking their brain on how to solve this particular problem in Nigeria. But no, we haven't been able to solve that problem yet. We haven't been able to solve it.
Korede also wants to know what's the estimated Naira for PR. Korede, you're going to have to get in touch with her privately. Korede is very specific. I like Korede already. He says, please, what's the estimated Naira for PR promo by your firm, BukiHQ Media, for a 3-song EP from an emerging pop artist? Korede is very specific.
So Brian, what has happened?
That's an excellent way to be. Very specific.
It's not easy to answer, and I will tell you why. Your music plays a very huge part in our decision to represent you. Your brand plays a very huge part in our ability to represent you. There are some musicians that we are able to take at 0 cost based on what we are able to determine is the public's interest in the musician and the media's interest in the musician. But I can't just give you a cost, unfortunately. Sorry, I can't give you a cost.
I think it's fair to say, though, that where there is a will, there is a way. You got to get somebody to fall in love with you. And for instance, I always have one project in my back pocket that I'm doing because I love the music.
Yeah.
That if I have a slow day, now I can work on Buki's record. You know, I've got a record from Buki on my hard drive that I work out of love. And you know, all of us, I think, will take a project like that on. And you know, you were talking a minute ago, Buki, about you know, if you hear a song 1,000,000 times, you find yourself humming it. And so the challenge for people discovering new music is hearing a song one time for the first time and deciding how good it is. And that's kind of what we do as professionals. And on Djooky, for instance, you know, somebody said it earlier, not necessarily the best song has the best social following, and votes are important. So we have 40 people looking through the entire, submission list of songs, trying to find great songs that might not have great socials. And that's what A&R people do. And there's a place for those people in the industry.
There is.
And that's how discovery happens. There's a lot of good questions here.
Lots and lots. So I have another question for you guys. Good evening. My name is Djooky Gila. Hello, Djooky. And I'm a music entrepreneur from Lagos, Nigeria. The first question is, how do you increase your listening base on Spotify? Because we seem to have about 20K listeners monthly for about 3 months now, but it has not increased even after dropping an EP. Am I patient enough, or will videos help? That's the first
Videos
one.
will help. First of all, videos will help. It's a visual world we live in now. And I think videos are certainly going to help. And Buki, maybe you could answer the rest of that question, because I don't really know how you get 20,000 people to listen more, I think is what she's asking, or he's asking.
Yeah.
They are asking. So I'm not sure the answer to that one.
I think the answer is simple. It's a simple answer, but very hard to execute. You've gotten 20,000 people to listen to you, to subscribe to you already. What more have you done? What else? What other reason have you given them to listen? So, are you on playlists? Have you found a way to get yourself playlisted? Have you identified the biggest playlists for your region? Have you found ways to get your music on these biggest playlists? Because one of the things that Spotify does is that it actually lets you know the number of people that are following a particular playlist. Have you identified playlists for people to get onto? Have you identified other areas for your music to get onto? Have you identified something about you that is unique, or something about your music that is unique? Have you looked for ways to get your music heard outside of the music platforms? I mean, one of the areas that I discover music is from movies and from television series and from commercials. Have you advertised? Have you run campaigns? Have you done any kind of TikTok activations? Have you done any? I mean, there's just so many. There's so many questions. What have you done that is extra from what you've done the last time that has allowed people identify what it is that you're putting out and who it is that you're representing, or what it is that you stand for? It's an easy question that I'm asking you, but they're very, very, very difficult activities to participate in. Very difficult. It's a question that every single artist asks. And it doesn't matter if you are a small artist or a big artist. Every single time you put out new music, no matter how big or small you are, you would ask that question. How do I get more people to listen to the music? How do I get more people to notice that I'm out there? I mean, there's a really big international American Canadian musician who recently had a concert, a live concert on a rooftop in Paris, flying a French flag. And immediately I saw this concert. I mean, it was just him. It was just a live performance. There's nobody there, just him on the rooftop. And they promoted it so much. Why do you think he went to France to do this? I mean, the French have some of the highest numbers when it comes to streaming in the world, right? So if he's in Paris, performing in Paris after releasing a new album, and he's on a rooftop and he's flying the French flag, why do you think he's decided to do this? Because he wants more people to go and listen to his music. And this is an internationally renowned artist. He is doing that. So what more you, who is not internationally known? Not many people, like you said, on Spotify, you have about 20,000 listeners. What are you doing extra? These people are doing the most. They're doing extra. And they have hundreds of millions of subscribers already, but they want more. And they're doing more. So what more are you doing?
Wow, what a great answer. Can I just add one thing from the musical side? And it's a page out of Major Artists' book, playbook. And that is, you see major artists collaborating with other featured artists on their records. This goes back to our networking talk that we started with. There are a lot of artists that can attract the attention of musicians who've maybe gone a few steps higher on the ladder. Reach out to those artists if you feel like they would like your music because their music is similar to yours. And you'd be surprised, somebody's going to say yes if you ask them to be a guest vocalist on your next release. Wow, what a way to expand your audience. You tap into your peers or somebody just above you on the way to success and fame. Maybe that then they see that your audience can help them and their audience can help you, and it's mutual. And network. DM people. You'd be surprised they answer.
You're actually right.
It's a funny thing. They do.
Yes. I always wondered why people had cameos in music videos. And this is the reason.
Yeah.
This is it. having a big musician cameo in your music video, having you cameo in a big musician's video. These are some of the things that people do. And the truth is, a lot of the answers to your questions are already out there. There's so many case studies. Identify one artist that has grown larger than you thought they would grow, and just research and find out what it is that they did. And the track record is there for you to see. I say this all the time. The case studies help. They really, really help all the time.
Thank you so much, Brian and Buki. You guys have been amazing. It has been an enlightening session. You have answered the last question I was going to ask the both of you. I was going to start with Brian and ask him, so what do you think emerging artists can do from the continent, from Nigeria and Africa, to break into the US market and vice versa? I was going to start with Brian and then have Buki round it off, but you guys have already touched on it. Now the last thing we're going to say before we throw the floor open for like 2-3 questions maybe would be, how welcoming is the US market towards African talent? Somebody wants to know.
Can I answer? Can I answer?
Yes, please, Buki.
The coldest music market in the world is the American market. It is even cold for the Americans. Talk less of the people outside of America. For you to become a global star in America is extremely hard. I mean, America is a really big country. You find out that there are a lot of local artists, big artists in Atlanta, big artists in New York that have never been heard of on the other side of America. That's just one. And then you look at the musicians, big musicians out of the UK that have not been able, have tried everything possible to cross over from the UK to America and have failed woefully. Where do we start from? Do you understand?
Can I jump in? I'll jump in there. You have to become the biggest artist in your home territory.
Yep.
And you with Burna Boy, I mean, that's the way it's done. I mean, he's huge here, but he had to be huge there first.
Yeah.
And by the way, you'll find, if you look back in history, a lot of examples that Buki was just talking about. You know, I can't make it in New York. I'm the Strokes. I'm Julian Casablancas. My dad is a huge modeling agency. They couldn't get arrested here in the United States. You know what we did? We sent them to the UK. Same with, what are they called? They were the Follow-Wills, Kings of Leon. Couldn't get arrested. They're from Nashville, Tennessee. Nothing we did could get them started here in the United States. We sent them to the UK where they did a tour and they became the critics' press darlings. And all of a sudden, that UK success, they were big in what people thought was their home territory. We were able to bring it back to the United States. You've got to make sure that the audience at home puts you at the very top before you can go and break out elsewhere. And home doesn't have to be Nigeria. Home could be wherever you are and wherever you're touring and wherever you're finding your audience. And live touring, live stream touring, live exposure on video channels, it's kind of all the same now. And that's, you find an audience and then nurture it.
It goes back to what you said earlier about building a community. You'd be amazed how wide your community can take you. I mean, that's the success story for Chance the Rapper. His success story was his community. His community made him known. They made him big. So you're right.
Every time I've heard someone, mostly Buki, say, build a community, I remember Billie Eilish. Mm-hmm. Every single time I remember Billie Eilish, and it makes a whole lot of sense. You have to start from within. It has to grow from within. You cannot just expect to go somewhere and be big. There has to be a track record. You have to have done something. Now, someone from Ghana wants to know, and I believe this is going to be our last question for the hour, unfortunately. We've run out of time.
This is the label question, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's the label question. And so the question is, for an up-and-coming artist, would you suggest the artist sign with a label that is only offering a 360 deal? In brackets, selling your soul away of some sort, or taking the lone independent route, which usually can take a lot, given the funds to push and lack of network to support the act, craft his or her brand positioning. So what's your take, expert?
Brian, can we agree on something?
Probably. I think we agree on a lot.
Can we agree at some point in time in the not so distant future to have another talk that has to do with record label companies and record deals, right? Because this conversation is another 30 minutes to 45 minutes if we're being fast. I think we should have another conversation on record labels. What do you think?
That's a great idea, but I do have an answer for this person. I have a thought. And I still believe that major labels can be very helpful, but they're full of bear traps. They're full of almost anything that can go wrong will go wrong when you sign to a label. However, if you're writing the kind of music that requires that kind of muscle, connections, cash, they can be a very good thing. If they love you and you're not a good business person, but you're a good songwriter, it might work out just fine. More often than not, though, it's a disaster. And cracks that are inherent in that system are there for you to fall through, and you do fall through them. In most cases, just like the real world, just like the 45,000 songs this Friday are going to be overwhelmingly unsuccessful. It's the same at a major label, but your chances might be a whole lot better if you have a team behind you, whether it's one that you've put together or one that you've signed on to. It depends on the passion and the stability. Like there's a label here in Los Angeles called Epitaph. It's an independent label. A guy from a band, a punk rock band in LA started it 40 years ago, and he's still the president and CEO. That's the kind of label that can really be helpful if they love what you're doing, because it's stable and the team isn't going to be replaced, and you along with it.
Yeah, it's a good idea actually to host another talk because I see there is a lot of interest from our attendees and there are a lot of questions coming through. So we should definitely consider this opportunity, going forward. Before we go, I will have I have a few things to mention. So first of all, if you're still not with the label, do go to our website djookyAwards.com and do register for the Djooky Music Awards, and we're still accepting applications for the spring season. The deadline is the 16th of May, so we still have another 10 days to register. It's very easy. It's a very easy and simple process. If you have any trouble doing that, just email support@djooky.com and Genia will get back to you and literally just handhold you for you to be able to participate. So you guys do follow us on social media and do kind of follow our announcements, and we wish you all the best in the Djooky Music Awards. And we think it's really worth competing for the main prize, which will be your trip to LA to record with Brian. Good luck. Good luck. We hope to see you on our platform.
Don't forget all the cash that goes with that.
Yes, right. But all the kind of terms and conditions are listed on the website. So all that information is out there, and we continuously repeat it. So, yeah, okay. Well, thanks everyone. Shirley, thank you very much. Please convey our thanks to Buki. It was an amazing discussion, and we hope to have another talk sometime soon. We should do that definitely.
Looking forward to it. For everyone who's on. Thank you for joining. Make sure you go to the Djooky website. Bye now.